the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Mr. Rudy Ndarsing, member of the House of Representatives. Independent Senator Hazel Thompson, I.E. Her Honor, Mrs. Deborah Thomas-Felix, President of the Industrial Court of Trinidad and Tobago. His Honor, Mr. Anthony Garfo, Chairman of the Tax Appeal Board. Her Honor, Mrs. Donna Powell-Raphael, Chairman of the Equal Opportunities Tribunal. His Honor, Mr. Sunil Sukraj, Chairman of the Environmental Commission. Ambassador Joseph Oyi, Deputy Head of Mission of the High Commission for the Federal Republic of Nigeria. His Honor, Mr. Herbert Sovereign, Vice President of the Industrial Court. His Honor, Mr. Lawrence Achong, Chairman of the Essential Services Division of the Industrial Court of Trinidad and Tobago. Judges of the Industrial Court of Trinidad and Tobago, members of the Inner Bar, representatives of the International Labour Organization, the ILO, Decent Work Team, and Office for the Caribbean. Mr. Keston Nanku, Chairman of the Employers Consultative Association, heads and representatives of trade unions, heads and representatives of employers' organizations, practitioners of industrial relations, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, members of the media, good morning and welcome to the special sitting for the opening of the 2023-2024 law term of the Industrial Court of Trinidad and Tobago. The Industrial Court of Trinidad and Tobago is a superior court of record which came into effect in 1965 pursuant to the Industrial Stabilization Act. At its inception, the complement of judges was 5, which included the President, the Honorable Justice Sir Isaac Hayatali, who later became Chief Justice of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. In the first 8 months of existence, there were only 4 members of staff of the court, namely an acting registrar, a senior court reporter, a probationer, stenographer, and a court messenger who was also the orderly. In 1972, the Industrial Stabilization Act was repealed and replaced by the Industrial Relations Act, which is commonly referred to as the IRA. The IRA facilitated several changes in the operations of the Industrial Court, including the creation of the Office of Economic and Industrial Research. By 1974, there were 8 judges at the Industrial Court, supported by a staff complement of approximately 36. Today, there are 21 judges at the Industrial Court out of a complement of 26. The judges include the President, Her Honor Mrs. Deborah Thomas-Felix, Vice President, His Honor Mr. Herbert Sovereign, and Chairman of the Essential Services Division, His Honor Mr. Lawrence Achong. The staff of the court is headed by a registrar and an assistant registrar and is comprised of a complement of 164. Like the ISA, the Industrial Relations Act provided that the judges of the court be 1. Experienced in industrial relations or a qualified economist or a qualified accountant or an attorney at law with at least 5 years of experience in the field. The Vice President must be an attorney at law with at least 10 years of experience in the field. The President must be a judge of the Supreme Court of Judicature or has the qualification to be appointed a judge in the Supreme Court of Judicature. Her Honor, Mrs. Deborah Thomas-Felix, is the 6th President and first female President of the Industrial Court of Trinidad and Tobago. She's a former senior magistrate and deputy chief magistrate of the Judiciary of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. She served as a judge of the United Nations Appeals Tribunal and is the 8th president of the tribunal. Currently, she sits on the International Monetary Fund Administrative Tribunal as a judge. In 2015, Her Honor Mrs. Thomas-Felix was appointed a member of the International Labour Organization's Committee of Experts on the application of conventions and recommendations. She is the only member of the ILO's Committee of Experts from this region. At the ILO, Her Honor specializes in all the maritime conventions, including seafarers and fishers, as well as the occupational safety and health conventions, and this year, her expertise has been expanded to forced labor conventions. Her Honor is a lawyer by profession and is the holder of a Master's of Law degree in International Legal Studies from the Washington College of Law. Among her core areas of studies for this Master's was the International Environmental Advocacy and International Finance and Sustainable Development Law. She's a Fulbright Scholar of the Herbert Humphrey Program. At this fellowship, she specialized in environmental law and health and safety. The main focus of the fellowship was to assist in identifying emerging issues in environmental health and safety law and evaluating management procedures that implement such policy. Ladies and gentlemen, can we please stand as we welcome the judges, the Honorable Judges of the Industrial Court of Trinidad and Tobago. Please be seated.
The Honorable Chief Justice of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, Mr. Justice Ivo Archie, ORTT, Senator the Honorable Reginald Amor, Senior Counsel, Attorney General and Minister of Legal Affairs, the Honorable Stephen McClatchy, Minister of Labor, the Honorable Mr. Justice Jacob Witt, Acting President of the Caribbean Court of Justice, Deputy High Commissioner Ms. Tasman Clayton of the United Kingdom, for the United Kingdom, Great Britain, and Northern Ireland, His Excellency Mr. Abubakar Ibrahim, High Commissioner of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Mr. Rudy Ndar Singh, Member of the House of Representatives, His Honor Mr. Anthony Gaffaro, Chairman of the Tax Appeal Board, Her Honor Ms. Donna Prowell Raphael, Chairman of the Equal Opportunity Tribunal, His Honor Mr. Sunil Sukraj, Chairman of the Environmental Commission, Ambassador Joseph Oyi, Deputy Head of Mission of the High Commission for the Federal Republic of Nigeria, His Honor Mr. Herbert Sovereign, Vice President of the Industrial Court, His Honor Mr. Lawrence Achong, Chairman of the Essential Services Division of the Industrial Court, Judges of the Industrial Court of Trinidad and Tobago, members of the Inner Bar, representatives of the International Labour Organization, Decent Work Team, and the Office of the Caribbean, Mr. Keston Nanku, Chairman of the Employers Consultative Association, heads and representatives of trade union, heads and representatives of employers organizations, practitioners of industrial relations, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, members of the media, good morning all. When I assumed presidency of the Industrial Court in December 2011, the main issues that year centered on the Arab Spring, the capture of Osama bin Laden, the Fukushima nuclear accident, and on a promising note, the United Nations declared 2011 the International Year of Forests to raise awareness for sustainable management, conservation, and sustainable development of all types of forests. I highlight this simply to say and to underscore that the more things change, the more they stay the same. Since today, we continue to grapple with the global troubling problems of security, equity, justice, and the growing realization that climate change is no longer a remote problem that we can leave for the next generation to handle, but one that has in fact arrived. To add to this, we have since endured a pandemic. So yes, these continue to be extremely challenging times, and we here in Trinidad and Tobago, like many countries across the globe, are also grappling with a crime situation that continues to cause grief, distress, and pain to many citizens. Even as I surrender to constancy of change and our ongoing challenges, I confess to wrestling with the same bedeviling question each year of what topic to speak on at the special sitting of the court. This year, I decided to focus on people. I will, by way of explanation, use the words of Sir John Donaldson of the English Court of Appeal and remind that the Industrial Court is a court, but a court with a difference. All courts exist to uphold the rule of law. So does this court. All courts are concerned with people. So is this court. Why then is this court different? It is different in its composition, its objects, and its procedures. It is a court of law, but not a court of lawyers. In this vein, I thought it might be useful to start from the perspective of people, because after all, at its most basic level, that is why we are in the business of industrial relations and why we are all committed to ensuring good governance from our respective spheres. It is about people, their security, and their safety. We therefore share the common goal of creating and safeguarding human security. Perhaps now is an opportune time to remind that human security emphasizes that the survival, livelihood, and dignity of people are fundamental basis for national and regional development and international peace and development. In that context, a key pillar of human security is economic security, and of course we cannot separate industrial relations and the labor market from economic security. I found it very useful to situate our proceedings today within the context of the definition of human security, which is, and I quote, safety from the chronic threats such as hunger, disease, and repression, as well as protection from sudden and harmful disruptions in the patterns of daily life, whether in homes, jobs, or communities, unquote. This is a quote which I got from the UNDP, and it's a quote from 1994. And while this concept and definition dates to 1994, it remains extremely relevant given our collective global experience in March 2020 to May 2023. Moreover, growing evidence of the accelerated impact of climate change on our lives and livelihoods has underscored the continuing relevance of this concept and its interrelated pillars of political security, community security, personal security, environmental security, health security, food security, and of course, as mentioned before, economic security. Given that work gives the material means to provide for ourselves and our families, one might in fact argue that without economic security, the other forms of security can quite easily be imperiled. That is a substantive topic that we may need to convene at a special symposium to fully explore. So today, I will focus on addressing two critical interconnected challenges to our security that our world faces: climate change and the critical importance of proper health and safety mechanisms. These issues are not isolated concerns. They're intrinsically linked, impacting the well-being of our planet and the safety, health, and security of every individual. Many leading environmentalists have warned time after time that climate change should be the number one priority for government policies in this century. In fact, the world has experienced several disasters and climate-related changes in the first 2 decades of this century, and we continue to experience them in this, the third decade. The United Nations reported that, and I quote, climate change is one of the major challenges of our time, from shifting weather patterns that threaten food production to rising sea levels that increase the risk of catastrophic flooding. The impact of climate change is global in scope and unprecedented, unquote. As you may know, there have been extreme weather-related events each month for this year throughout the world, events which have affected many lives and livelihoods. So permit me to quickly recap the major weather-related events for this year. This year began with the 6th warmest January on record, averaging a temperature of 35.2 degrees Fahrenheit in the United States. There are also high levels of rainfall in that month, making January 2023 the 3rd wettest January on record. A record number of atmospheric rivers brought unprecedented rains to California in the United States, which was suffering from a drought. That state experienced 10 storms, which resulted in floods and landslides, as well as snowfall in the mountainous regions. Later that month, the United States experienced both cold and unusually warm temperatures. Southern California saw winter storm conditions inhibiting travel in the region, while other parts of the country saw almost spring-like temperatures. Chile is experiencing a decade of extreme dry weather, which has led to what experts have called a mega drought. Record temperatures in Chile toppled at 104 degrees Fahrenheit, accompanied by strong winds. This sparked one of the deadliest wildfires in the country's history in February this year. Also in the months of February and March, the world suffered the onslaught of the very intense tropical cyclone Freddy, which was one of the longest-lived tropical cyclones in human history, lasting 5 weeks. The countries which were severely affected were Madagascar, Mozambique, Zimbabwe, Malawi, South Africa, Zambia, and the Mascarene Islands, while Malawi being the hardest hit. The total fatality of Cyclone Freddy was 1,434, with at least 1,216 persons losing their lives in Malawi. Tornadoes continued throughout the month of April in the United States, with a storm in Oklahoma that killed at least 3 people. In the month of April as well, that month was also marked by several heat waves in Asia and the Mediterranean. Several countries in Asia, including Bangladesh, India, Laos, Thailand, and saw some of their highest temperature to date, which reached over 113 degrees Fahrenheit. In the Mediterranean, Spain and Morocco experienced record-breaking heat surpassing 101 degrees Fahrenheit. These heat waves have been attributed to climate change. In the month of May, wildfire raged in Alberta, Canada, with these fires affecting the ambient air quality of the communities in adjacent districts. Environmental pollutants often do not respect boundaries, and so smoke from the fire also affected the United States of America, with several states issuing air quality warnings. Also in May, Cyclone Mocha hit Myanmar and Bangladesh, which led to several deaths, and hundreds of thousands were left homeless. In May, the United Nations estimated that over 800 persons were in need of emergency food and other assistance. In that same month, Typhoon Mawar was one of the strongest typhoons to ever hit Guam in recent history. It wreaked havoc in Guam, causing widespread power outages in the region. This is Asia, but bear in mind this could easily happen to us here in the Caribbean. Later that month, India experienced a strong heat wave, which led to several power outages and nearly 170 deaths. July 3rd through July 6th were the four hottest days on record globally, the hottest of which was July 6th, when the global average temperature climbed to an unprecedented 63.2 degrees Fahrenheit. Various regions across the globe experienced heat waves, including Europe, China, parts of the United States. The heat was magnified by El Niño and extremely warm oceans. Also in July, there were intensive flooding in India, which left at least 100 persons dead. In August, the world continued to experience extremely high global temperatures that led to a number of devastating disasters. The Hawaiian island of Maui, for example, experienced a devastating wildfire. Have attributed this destruction and those mentioned before to climate change. California was struck by Tropical Storm Hillary in the month of August, the first such storm to hit the southern part of the state in 84 years. Last week, Cyclone Daniel, after devastating Greece, Bulgaria, and Turkey, hit Libya, causing 2 dams to break. This is the heaviest rainfall the country has seen in the past 40 years. More than 5,000 persons are presumed dead so far as the death toll continues to rise. The Red Cross has estimated that 10,000 people are missing. This month, Hong Kong experienced the heaviest rain since records began 140 years ago, killing 2 people and injuring more than 140. Here in Trinidad and Tobago, so far this year, we have been experiencing intense heat, heavy rainfall, and unprecedented flash flooding. The natural question, I know, is what is the connection between climate change and proper health and safety mechanisms on the one hand, and the industrial court, labor standards, and the labor market on the other? I will answer by reminding stakeholders that labor is fundamental to and at the heart of social and economic developments at all levels, at the levels of the family, the community, the country, the region, and globally. Climate change and health-related disasters, including pandemics, affect the health and safety of employers and workers, and it also affects productivity. In Trinidad and Tobago, we know only too well the intense heat experience when we are outdoors for work or when we dare to venture outdoors during work hours. Also, there are workers who experience the intense heat and discomfort when working indoors because they work in buildings which are not properly ventilated. I was surprised to learn of the extensive research on the effect of working in heat and heat stress. Heat stress refers to heat received in excess of which the body can tolerate without suffering physical impairment. The exposure to extreme heat can result in occupational illnesses, injury, and even death. Globally, we are all exposed to this very high temperature and the effects of climate change. The heat, apart from affecting our health, slows down the productivity rate. Studies have shown that there is a direct relation between climate air pollution and workers' health, which suggests that their cardiorespiratory health issues or decreased productivity as a result of heat problems. According to the ILO, the excessive heat during work creates occupational health risks. It restricts a worker's physical functions and capabilities, working capacity, and productivity. Heat stress can result in heat stroke, heat exhaustion, heat cramps, or heat rashes, and heat can also increase the risk of injuries to workers. Workers who are more at risk to heat stress are those who work outdoors or those who work in buildings with poor ventilations. These include workers in hot environments such as firefighters, bakery workers, farmers, construction workers, miners, boiler room workers, factory workers, among others. The increasing weather events directly place workers who are engaged in construction sites, agriculture, and in some cases the essential services within direct risk. The social partners should therefore encourage the adoption of sound health and safety mechanisms and policies in the workplace. Adequate safety measures are paramount in protecting workers from heat-related illnesses, air quality hazards, and other climate-related dangers. Heat stress has attracted the attention of the development community outside of the ILO. Indeed, the UNDP has reported that, and I quote, the effect of rising heat in the workplace will continue to present multifaceted challenges for many of the new global sustainable development goals. In particular, the 8 goals directly related to incomes, family health and nutrition, inequalities and jobs, community sustainability, and climate change, unquote. Continuing in this vein, the ILO has advanced that, and I quote, the best way to reduce the risk of heat-related illnesses include work practices such as allowing self-pacing of work, drinking water often, wearing appropriate clothing, making the work environment cooler through air conditioning and ventilation, provided shaded rest areas, and providing an annual health checkup. I will add to this list that consideration should be given to the use of remote work and new modalities of work. Remote work allows workers to stay safe during disasters, such as natural disasters or pandemic, as we just experienced, and minimizes disruptions to business operations. It can also lead to the increased productivity during the time of an environmental or health adversity. In addition, I also think it will be very useful for employers and unions to incorporate clauses in collective agreements for annual training of workers, especially those who are at greater risk, so that they can understand the danger of heat stress and other environmental concerns which affect their health and safety, and also learn of preventative measures. You may recall at the last special sitting for the new law term last year, I suggested that when there is collective bargaining for a new collective agreement, parties should consider to include clauses as comprehensively as possible in these agreements to address health and safety issues at work. To revisit a small excerpt from my speech last year, and I quote, as we look to the future, collective bargaining is the only progress forward to achieve sustainable development and to arrive at consensus on the new modality of work and the future of work. It is very important that the collective bargaining process, which is mandatory under the laws of Trinidad and Tobago, takes center stage in workplace relationships as it provides an effective means for employers and workers to tackle new challenges in the workplace. The COVID-19 experience has shown that there is urgent need for the strengthening of articles and clauses in collective agreements to treat with existing issues of occupational safety and health at work, and to make provisions as far as possible for any future public health crisis which may occur in the workplace. In addition, social partners may want to re-examine and negotiate new articles and clauses to deal with provisions for paid leave and health care benefits in collective agreement. There is no doubt that the continued collaboration between employers and trade unions is very important for policy making in the workplace, and that collective bargaining is key to forge an inclusive, sustainable recovery post-COVID-19. Social partners should always strive to utilize the collective bargaining process as a starting point, meet in good faith, have genuine, open discussions and negotiations, and where possible, attain consensus on the important workplace issues such as working conditions, pay and remuneration, and productivity, among others, unquote. There's a reason why I gave that long quote. Climate change continues to pose complex challenges for workers from shifts. Adaptations and mitigation efforts are crucial to protect the well-being of the workforce in a changing climate. When we examine the impact of climate change on the world of work, we must also consider the broader economic implication. Climate-related disasters not only disrupt businesses, but can also strain economies and tear communities apart, rendering social systems ineffective at the point when we need them most. As a small island developing state, this is of particular importance to us, for the cost of recovery from disasters such as flooding and fires can be staggering and may lead to the government having to divert resources away from essential social services. However, by the same token, the global effort to transition to a more sustainable economy offers many opportunities for innovation and for the sustainable creation of green jobs. Green jobs, which are also referred to as sustainable or environmental friendly jobs, can be encouraged in various sectors such as renewable energy, sustainable agriculture, waste management, environmental protection, green construction and transportation. Green jobs are used to support low carbon economy and play a vital role in addressing climate change and reducing greenhouse gas emission. The global response to climate change necessitates a workforce skilled in environmental conservation, renewable energy, and sustainable practices. Therefore, training, upscaling, and retooling initiatives are essential in the workplace to ensure that workers navigate the effects of climate change. It is the duty and responsibility of all of us to prioritize the health and safety and well-being of the workforce. We must actively explore measures to safeguard not only our environment, but our health and safety for generations to come. I will now turn to the work of the court. During the year in review, which is the 15th of September 2022, 2023, 793 new cases were filed at the Industrial Court. This is 309 cases less than the same period of 2021 to 2022, which recorded 1,102 cases. The court disposed of 909 matters this year, which was 62 more than the 847 matters disposed of in the same period for the last year in review. The total number of disputes disposed during the year in review as follows: 253 judgments, 289 cases were withdrawn, 320 matters were settled through conciliation and bilateral process, and 44 matters were dismissed. Of the total numbers filed at the court for this year, 2022 to 2023, trade disputes in both the Essential and General Services Division remain the highest numbers of cases filed, with a total of 654 cases, followed by retrenchment and severance benefit disputes, which was 38, and occupational safety and health, which was 31, and 25 industrial relations offenses. I think persons who practice at the Industrial Court will know that there is a case which involves the Occupational Safety and Health Authority, which is pending the outcome at the Privy Council. And as a result, the filing of occupational safety and health matters, which sometimes are in excess of 200, have only been 31 this year. The library continues its work on updating the subject index of the Industrial Court judgments for 1965 to 1998, and hope to have a revised subject index of the Industrial Court's judgment of 1965 to 2022 by August 2024. The library has also continued its digitizing of the court's judgment. So far, an estimated 5,760 records were edited in the judgments database. $894,989.85 in cash and checks were collected by the library, because the library collects money on behalf of the court. This year, $454,700 were prescription payments. $4,116 represented the industrial court fines, and $24,285.85 was spent for photocopies. The court hosted its Meet with the Court Symposium on June this year. The presenters of the symposium were economist Dr. Shelton Nichols, the Honorable Justice Jefferson Cumberbatch, Justice of Appeal of the Supreme Court of Barbados, Mr. Shingo Maike. He is the labor law and Dr. Leighton Jackson, former Dean of the Faculty of Law of the University of the West Indies, Mona campus. On behalf of the court, I wish to thank them for their participation and their excellent contribution to this symposium. Over the years, I've spoken about the lack of sufficient space for the staff of the industrial court at the Port of Spain building. This continues to be a pressing concern, which at times stymies the operation of the court. When this building was commissioned in 1997, and over the years there has been a significant increase in the number of staff, judges, and users of the court. I cannot overemphasize how important it is for the physical facility of the court to be comfortable for the staff and the users, and I continue to look forward to a very amicable resolution of this problem by the relevant authorities. There are also several maintenance issues at the Port of Spain building, which I have privately discussed with the Attorney General, so I'm not going to raise them here. However, the most pressing of which is the leaking roof, which requires urgent repair in order to prevent further damage to the building and to the court records. With respect to Tobago, during the period of the COVID-19 pandemic, it was not possible for citizens who live in Tobago to attend court in Port of Spain. As a result, we have a large number of cases to be determined from Tobago. It is my intention to make arrangements after discussion with the learned Chief Justice to hold a session in Tobago next year to determine some of these disputes. And I know there will be no resistance there. Finally, I wish to mention that a review of my presentations to this distinguished audience at the special sittings for the last 10 years reveal a recurring theme, which is the importance of social dialogue. I am sure you will all agree that people who are involved in a particular business, the workers, their representatives, and business owners alike, share a common purpose and a common goal. This common goal is to make the business viable and successful so it remains a going concern. When there is the practice of good industrial relations and the business is a success, the people who are involved in that business benefit. The owner realizes a profit and the workers receive their remuneration and benefits, thus realizing a measure of economic security. It is important when there is collective bargaining that there should be mutual respect in the room, even if there is no agreement. That is really what social dialogue is about. It is only through genuine, meaningful dialogue, compromise, and mutual respect we can truly say that there is collective bargaining in good faith. With all the challenges we are experiencing as a country, especially after the pandemic, I urge the social partners to think long and hard on whether you wish to have continuous discord, arrogance, and gamesmanship, or rather, do you wish to meet in good faith to find solutions together to achieve that common goal? If there is no social dialogue and the business collapses, then you the basin and even the baby. I therefore implore you to never lose focus on what is your ultimate common goal, which is for the business owner to realize profit and for the workers to receive their just remunerations and benefit for decent work. The late Denise Plummer suggested in one of her calypsos that we stay right here, we work together right here, and we prosper together right here. If she didn't say that, I say that. We prosper together right here. And the late merchant implored us to build a nation together. Only with genuine discussions and ongoing meaningful social dialogue in pursuit of common goals can we truly build our beloved twin island nation into the country we wish to bequeath to our children. It is only then we can truly say that we are forged from the love of liberty as we stand side by side with boundless faith in our destiny. I thank you.
Let's show appreciation for Her Honor, Mrs. Deborah Thomas-Felix, who of course delivered the feature address at this special sitting of the opening for the 2023-2024 law term of the Industrial Court of Trinidad and Tobago. If we could kindly stand.
Yeah.
Now, what I'll try to do, which is an onerous task, is to provide a brief summary of some of the main points identified by Her Honor, and whom I think we can show our appreciation once again as she delivered the feature address at this special sitting for the opening of the 2023-2024 law term for the Industrial Court of Trinidad and Tobago. Let's show Her Honor some appreciation for that. Her Honor focused quite a bit on the issue of climate change and the issues related to climate change, and provided a nexus for the importance of the courts of Trinidad and Tobago. And the Honorable AG has to leave us, so we'll ask him. Thank you very much, AG, for attending. The importance of the focus of climate change and the importance of proper health and safety mechanisms in the workplace in both the private and public sector. The Honor identified several instances where climate change has manifested throughout the world, including this year being the 6th warmest January on record, averaging a temperature of 35.2 degrees Fahrenheit in the U.S. alone, and several other issues around the world, including flooding, the displacements of hundreds of thousands of people, and, of course, hurricanes and many other natural disasters. Her Honor also identified here in Trinidad and Tobago that we've been experiencing several heat waves, or an intense heat waves, heavy rainfall in some instances, and unprecedented flash flooding. Her Honor also identified the ILO's issues on excessive heat during work, creating occupational health risks, restricting workers' physical functions and capabilities, and also partners encouraging the adoption of sound health and safety mechanisms and policies in the workplace. Adequate safety measures are paramount in protecting workers from heat-related illnesses, air quality hazards, and other climate-related dangers in the workplace. Honor also focused on climate change continuing to pose complex challenges for workers, from health and safety risks to potential economic, job, and market shifts, and the importance of the adaptation and mitigation efforts crucial to protecting the well-being of the workforce and the businesses, and the focus on green jobs and sustainability. Her Honor also identified a bit in her delivery in terms of the workings of the court, the library continuing to upgrade the digitization process in the court, and of course she identified the Meet the Court Symposium and the keynote speakers in that regard. She also spoke a bit about the work in Tobago and of course the maintenance challenges of the building, and of course the importance of the continuation of social dialogue in the interest of stable industrial relations climate in Trinidad and Tobago. At this time, we would like to thank Her Honor and the Honorable Judges of the Industrial Court for the work they continue to do in maintaining stability in Trinidad and Tobago, and thank you for your attention and of course your attendance here today. Thank you very much and have a wonderful, safe day. Thank you very much for attending.
That was the live broadcast of the special sitting for the opening of the law term of the Industrial Court of Trinidad and Tobago.